Sports Card Fiends, we are back again with episode number 6 of Sports Card Corner. I am Alec, or Cutting Edge Cards, joined by Caleb at Caleb_sports_cards. What's going on, bud?
Hey, it's been a hot minute. Lots of things have happened, but I can't complain. We've stayed busy talking and purchasing things and talking some more and buying things some more. So
yeah, we've been planning a lot of stuff.
This is very true. It's been going good. I mean, I guess the biggest news that we haven't talked about is the Lakers, LeBron James winning ring number 4. This is a good place to start. Wasting up
seems like the
Larry O'Brien. What does this mean for you? Are you now investing in Anthony Davis's?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously not. I'm not buying any basketball right now for the most part. I'm thinking about it a little bit here and there, but I'm not going to be buying off of a ring. And like, I don't know, we'll talk more about it here in a second as we get into some prices. But basically, even though the Lakers won, their prices stayed the same and showed no incline overall for like 3 months. So doesn't really feel like a good buy. And I mean, I can be excited about what they do next year, but ultimately you're going to have to hold for the next few months. Apparently the NBA season is going to start a little sooner than later. I mean, I don't know how soon, but that's what I heard. So you're going to have to hold it for so long. I just don't feel like I'd be doing anything like that right out of the gate with it. I mean, is there anything you come out of here wanting to buy? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, again, LeBron is who LeBron is. People thought he was the GOAT before he won this ring. So is that going to change people's opinions, perception, or price on him? Probably not. So, yeah, exactly. So 3 to 4 doesn't really feel any different. I guess now he's on Shaq's level. So I guess that is more validating. Obviously, you move up one ring, there's less and less people with you. So, I mean, I guess he gets off the same level as Dwayne Wade now. He has one more ring than Dwayne. One more than Steph. So, people like that, I guess he eclipsed on that tier. But, yeah, I don't know. Nobody's really exciting me. Again, basketball it is kind of starting to feel like it is stabilizing. Again, like you, I've kind of been looking at stuff just kind of half-heartedly. There's definitely still people I want. Eventually, I'll probably still get a Luka here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Luka seems nice.
It's like a halfway between that. It's because like I want some more, but at the same time, it's like, well, do I think he's gonna win a championship this year? Probably not, but it feels more of a possibility than I guess any of the other young guys by a good margin. So, I don't know.
I was looking at MVP odds, and he was the highest or the most likely for it. So, and I think that's just because you're young. Same thing happens to Giannis. You're young, leading a team. Just kind of what comes with it.
I guess. I mean, it did take Giannis 6 years in the league. It's gonna take Luka 3.
Well, I mean, but Luka's played professional. I guess Giannis was too, but I don't.
Yeah, I guess. That is true. I mean, that's a fair point. He does feel like the favorite, and if he averages 29 points again, or close to that, if he's top 5 in points, and he'll probably be top 10 in assists, and now he won't be that crazy up there, but he'll probably have a good margin of rebounds for his position. I mean, yeah, it's possible. It usually goes to it would take the Mavericks winning a lot more games, though. I think that the Mavericks would have to be top 3 in the West, which that does seem like a pretty big jump for me. But who knows? There's a lot of love for Luka, so
yeah, it could go anyway. I mean, I definitely get it. He could just have Harden-esque performances, I feel like, and doing that alone sometimes can be enough, as we've seen. So I don't know. I mean, it's definitely interesting, but the market as a whole is kind of, more what I was looking at in terms of that. I mean, like you said with LeBron, I didn't really comment on LeBron too much, but yeah, I mean, people are already where they're at on him, whether he's 3-6 or 4-6, no one's changing their mind off that. And no one will probably change their mind anyways, because even if he goes 6-6, doesn't really matter. It's 500 in finals. It's not that great. So, yeah, I mean, not too much is going on there. In terms of like LeBron's prices, we'll kind of get into some of the effects from the finals. His Topps Chrome PSA 10 started the bubble off at 15,000 and now is down to 10,000. I don't know, like March, April, it was about 5 at the low, so it's still up overall, but obviously a pretty big dip from when the bubble started. I mean, yeah, like you heard there, Caleb, but not a fan of that drop. That's a decent bit. ADs kind of did the same thing. I mean, it's just tough. They went the Prism for the PSA 10 went from 2,100 to 1,350. So like both of them basically like dropped a third of their price. That's tough, huh?
Yeah, I mean, again, just anybody. That's the danger on that high climb. It's like you want to get in because you like that player, and you're like, well, what if this gets even further out of reach than I guess $15,000 is for some people. I mean, that's like a car. So I mean, it's not no money whatsoever. It's a pretty decent car. But I get why it got there, but and it's like, I mean, I guess there is only so many PSA 10s. It's not crazy. I think if you held that for 7 years, I don't think we'll laugh at that price. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to take 7, 8, 9 years to get back to that, unless LeBron rattles off a three-peat here.
Yeah, unless he does some big things.
I think 6 is the area where if he has as many as Mike, he has more than Magic, like he has more than Kobe. I think in that case, like then I think we could see big jumps. But it's just tough. That's where he's at.
I mean, yeah, to say that, they'd be able to do that is obviously not likely. We'll talk more about the NBA odds here in a second because we have the top 12 for that. But on the other side of the coin, Jimmy Butler, Prism PSA 10 went from 425 to 430, so basically just stayed the same price throughout the bubble. So showing the potential, but didn't get any sort of raise.
Not even no, it's not even. It's 0.5%. What is that? 0.25%. Yeah, not even.
You're not returning very well on that, but I mean, yeah, we obviously saw a lot from him, so interesting going forward. And then Tyler Hero, kind of a talk of, I guess, one series. His Prism PSA 10s went from 170 to 260, so even though they lost, still bumped up like 50%, which is pretty decent. It's just like even then, such an underdog like the Heat that no one really saw being able to do this. Like their prices don't even really keep up to what they shown. Like staying the same and then going up 50% on a young guy.
I don't even think that's that crazy for 260. I mean, that's still got a 1/4 of Zion probably, and like half of Ja. Like for now, what feels like to pretty much everybody to be the third best rookie in that class, just for kind of what he did in the playoffs. I don't think that's that unreasonable.
It doesn't seem too crazy. I mean, yeah, and like if he has days like that, I mean, that's what basketball market seems to be about. It's just selling on a high because you're going to get those days, with so many games and so many games where you just have one dude take over. So I definitely think that could be a decent play. And, you and me both are a little scared of Zion, even if we might like the overall product. So might be a good hedge.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I think I don't know. Zion's got to stay healthy for a year. It took Embiid a while. I mean, that's the thing is Embiid eventually got there, and there was a big worry about him, if you remember back when. Like, it took him like 3 seasons to get healthy. Yeah, just because he couldn't get healthy. And, I could see Zion doing a very similar thing. And then maybe, he does get healthy and he could be all-star level. But, once that point gets there, I mean, I think his cards will drop down so low that you could get him for a lot lower. I think that's going to have to be the way it is they're just going to have to get his body right and just going to have to sit him out until he's fully healthy. He doesn't look healthy. It's going to take a lot of work for him in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, he's on such a young team that, I guess, kind of the same thing.
Yeah, Pelicans are exciting.
Yeah, you assume, I mean, even if he sits out a little bit here and there, they could still turn it on if they need to, and long term, they're going to be in a better spot if they rest him. So I get it, but they are not going to be, sadly, on the odds for next year. We're going to get into the top 12 of that right now and kind of see what we got going on, which will help us out with kind of, I guess, predicting where cards go next year. So for number one, we got the Lakers at plus 330. So you bet one, you win 3.3. I mean, it doesn't seem all that surprising, right? I mean, it's kind of how you got to go with it. It's basically the same odds that we went into this year with. Honestly, I'm surprised. I'm surprised the Clippers are at number 2 at plus 450. I mean, after their implosion this year,
lost their coach. I mean, we just still don't know what's going to happen with Paul George and everything, all their contracts. Yeah, it's definitely surprising. Especially, I mean, they fell flat on their face the whole bubble. So.
Yeah,
Doc's out. Now it's Ty Lue coaching. It'll be interesting.
And, I don't know. I don't think the team is too favorable of Paul George. So that's an interesting dynamic for another year, I guess. See how that plays out. Then we got your Warriors at number 3 at plus 550. So just a little bit behind the Clippers. They were a lot higher, but their odds have come down. And I think that makes sense. I mean, you're a big Warriors guy. You like that.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they're... Again, just them being healthy and them sitting out, I think helps. They needed a mental reset. I mean, 5 straight finals, that's pretty tough. I mean, LeBron had one last year where they didn't get to the playoffs either. Kind of got a rest, and I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. And
No.
yeah, again, their bodies. I mean, they like LeBron just playing extra seasons in the playoffs, so. It'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely wears on you. Then we got the Bucks at number 4 at plus 600. Get to see if Giannis can become the superstar we need him to be in the playoffs again next year. I don't know. Not a fan.
That seems high. That seems really high at number 4. I do not think they're the 4th best team in the NBA.
Yeah, it's tough. Because then after that, okay, so basically Bucks are at 4 plus 600. Then the Nets are at 5 plus 900. Celtics at 6, 13-1. Heat at 7, 16-1. Then Raptors at 8, 18-1. And I feel like any of those teams could beat the Bucks, Like any of those teams behind it. Nets, Celtics, Heat, Raptors. It's like...
Yeah, I feel like they're better than the Bucks by a lot. I mean... Come on, are you going to seriously rely on Chris Middleton to be your number 2 scorer? They're not going to get a great draft pick. They have to make some serious acquisition. They need a superstar, but I don't even know who's available.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, but yeah, I mean, just seems like the Bucks are definitely pretty overvalued, but I get it. People, Giannis wins MVP, so you got to have them up there in some form. But then, yeah, the Nets, Celtics, Heat, Raptors, like we were saying, and then Sixers are at 20-1. I feel like all those teams are pretty close, and the East will be a lot of fun next year. I mean, at least competitive-wise.
100%.
It's gonna be nice to watch. I mean, the West has 1 through 3 in this list, and then after that, it's basically the East. So it's the same thing as this year. Pretty lopsided.
Yeah, then the bottom, it's got Nuggets, Rockets, Mavs, which is the rest of the West.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12, and that rounds out the top 12 for the betting odds. But, yeah, Nuggets, Rockets, Mavs, basically all the same odds at 22-1. I mean, makes sense. They're all kind of just, hope and prayer teams. Although the Nuggets, I felt like, showed more than the Rockets. But the Mavs with Luka, I don't know. I think the Rockets.
If the Nuggets get healthy, I think they're a little bit better than that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Especially, I mean, I don't know. Do people still like Michael Porter Jr.? Let me look up his prices. I don't know what he's. Do people remember, or is his defense so bad now that they don't care?
What a terrible take. His defense is bad.
Yeah, everyone.
I just feel like it's like the poor NBA people that just get stuck with that stigma, and it just never goes away. Like unless you're like Isaiah Thomas, who's like 5'0", and it's just impossible for you to guard. Like, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
or if you're just lazy.
Manageable. Yeah, he shows effort. I mean, he wouldn't be playing if he didn't, because he knows he'll get yanked. I mean, it happened a ton, so
yeah,
it's not like you're not gonna try. But yeah, his prices. I mean, his Prism PSA 9 silver was like 100 in June, and now it's like 180, which it's not too bad considering that he actually seemed pretty promising. So stayed healthy and actually got a role in the playoffs. So
yeah, I'm excited to see him develop.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I actually might have to buy in on that. I haven't really thought about that too much, but I like it. So I've been trying to get into a little bit of basketball because I think it's a good time. Wouldn't you agree? Rounding off this basketball segment, it's probably a decent time to start looking.
Yeah, I mean, I bought a couple things that I'll talk about later. I have bought in some basketball since it started, so it's about the right time.
Oh, a little tease for later. I like it. Yeah, I definitely agree. It might drop a little lower, but I like overall where it's at right now, and definitely could see myself splashing a little cash soon. But speaking of teases, we got some pictures that we like to tease over on our Instas. Just to plug them, it is in the description on whatever pod you're listening on, or if you're on the YouTubes, it is down there. I am at Cutting Edge Cards without the G in cutting over on Insta. And Caleb, your Insta is
Caleb_sports_cards. That would be it.
There we go. So both of the Instas down there. Feel free to check them out. We're dropping a lot of cards over there. Kind of things we've had that we're sitting on, or things that we're newly acquiring. Always a fun time to show the people what we got going. But yeah, speaking of, I guess cards that we're not probably collecting as much now. We kind of did this a little bit more before football started. But yeah, obviously football, a lot going on. I think the week-to-week like movement hasn't been as much as people would probably expect with football. Like there's not been a lot of increases unless it's kind of just a stray name that has a really good day, So I think the first person that we really see that with is Patrick Mahomes. Last week the Chiefs lost to the Raiders, but this week we just got done seeing the Chiefs win against the Bills. So I'm guessing overall people will be decently high on Mahomes. I mean, the Chiefs are looking pretty promising. There's been not some great games for him, but overall, I mean, coming off a Super Bowl and being where he's at and with the skill set he has, Mahomes is pretty promising, I'd say, right?
Yeah, I think it's just fine. I mean, honestly, on a losing, if it's gonna dip that hard, that might be the time to buy. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, man, 1,500 to start, and it was crazy in the off season, down to like 950. You said after the loss. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I feel like that's kind of the market correction that feels a lot more calm, I guess, for the prices of it. I guess I think that's reasonable if you're into Mahomes again. It's just tough. You're going to pay a premium on him. He's so good. He can win so many Super Bowls. Obviously, his defense isn't great. Beat a good team here today, though. And, I don't know. The Raiders have been good, so I wouldn't read too much into it. He's a contender, and, definitely they're going to make it to the playoffs. And I don't know. If there's some playoff hype this year, I mean, it could be a potentially okay play. But I don't know. I do like that $150 dip though in a loss.
Yeah, the Optic PSA 10 was $1,500 to start the year. It was $1,100 like a couple weeks back, and it's now down to $950. So yeah, I mean, kind of like, I don't know, it parallels basketball in a sense, because we've seen a lot of those cards, drop like a third of their price. This is about a third, and Mahomes hasn't really shown any regression. So I don't know, doesn't seem too crazy relative to everything that's going on. And I mean, long term, the most hype for the football season was going to be going into it. You don't have a ton of hype in week 4 because, I mean, it's still a ways to go. But over time, I think it's definitely something I would hold, and you can sell in some run in the playoffs or something. I think it's a good card overall, even if it isn't showing the best results right now. But yeah, another one that, I don't know, this is taking a dive for a obviously different reason, but Dak, his Prism PSA 10 saw like a crazy like just hype run, and then they were at 1,300 at their highest point, and now we're down to about 400. So I mean, like we saw, I mean, obviously that's a lot of money for a Dak card, but like we saw with Drew Lock whenever he got injured, you know, that hype comes back whenever they come back, right? I mean, to an extent.
Oh no, that ankle injury was pretty bad.
Well, I mean, yeah, but you assume it comes back, right?
I mean, I'm more worried about that than Drew Lock, that's for sure. That one was pretty grotesque, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but
and the Cowboys are doing so bad, I don't know. Although watch the redheaded wizard, dude. I think the Cowboys can still make it to the playoffs. Honestly, yeah. I don't know. That game's going on right now as we speak. I'm definitely a little curious to know the score, but yeah, I don't know. I was never very high on Dak to begin with, so I would always say just stay away. But the Cowboys do sell well, so
yeah, that's what I was figuring. So even if it is bad, it could be coded nicely. People will buy it for a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's a man.
Cowboys Cardinals is 0-0, by the way. First quarter's almost over. It's a thriller.
Let's go. Anybody's game.
Not missing anything there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The overall dip's obviously pretty steep. Will it come back? I mean, as long as the card market holds, I'd imagine, to an extent. But that's the thing. Will the quarterback card market be the same next year as it is this year? It's obviously a longer-term play that you got to kind of be in on. And you probably could do more with that money in the meantime anyway. So I guess I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying because he obviously is going to be out for a long time. But, yeah, so obviously been tough for him, and kind of a point that gets more towards like the overall market for football. A lot of people were kind of in on like position players just to kind of be an alternative way to maybe get some cards and invest. So people like Hopkins, Ridley, Julio, McLaurin, they've all kind of, I mean, these are ones that have just absolutely fallen off. And I mean, honestly, the rate of like receivers and running backs that are just going to fall off through a season compared to like the 2 to 5 that break out enough to actually be sellable, I just don't feel like it's a good gamble.
No, I mean, I think for Hopkins and Julio, right, for those two Hall of Fame guys, I mean, this year has just been a year of market correction in cards. You know, it's gone up quite a bit happily, and I think, you know, that 30% drop off that we've seen is that kind of just the hype dying off, and, you know, that just kind of stabilizing the prices for them. Yeah, but obviously, like, on young guys, that's super risky. I did it on DK Metcalf, but that's because I was a fan, and I wasn't mad if I got stuck with his cards because I really like DK Metcalf. So, yeah, I definitely don't think, though, it's a very sustainable game by any means. I mean, you could do it on a guy if you really, really believe in him, but obviously I wouldn't throw like an extensive amount of cash. But like, it's fun for those positional players that you think are good because their autos could be like, you know, I could pick up a DK Metcalf auto for like $20 in the off season. So, you know, there is some reward there if they do break out, and it's just fun again if you really like the guy. Again, I really liked DK, so I was happily throwing my money at it, and, you know, half collecting, half investing in it. So
yeah, I could definitely understand like having a couple guys, you know, but if you spread that around too much, you know, I think it starts to become a losing game if you got, you know, too many players.
For sure.
Yeah. I definitely think that's the way to go. And I mean, overall, I guess that's probably what I take away from like positional players at the moment is you just got to be really specific and have a really good clue as far as, you know, how you think they're going to play on a certain team and where that potential lies and like how marketable that is. And if you can find a good combination of like most of the things you're looking for, then I think it's good, but you got to be really selective with it. So I think that's the way I'd approach football positional players right now.
Yeah, I mean, the two guys that I really have collected, I bought so many Julio Jones rookie cards when he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought a bunch of DK. But, like, they have to be just, like, so wow for you to do that. And then, like, but you also have to be smart, like, not to just, you know, buy into the hype. Because a lot of players do fall off, so it's difficult. It's definitely not easy.
Oh, yeah, no. Fully understandable. But yeah, just you know, another shout out to Joe Burrow this week. We like to do this every now and then. I've just seen a cluster of great hits the last couple weeks, and just I don't know. It's basically like the Zion for me at the moment. Just where every time I watch Zion run, I just cringe. It's the same thing with Joe. It's not a good feeling, honestly. It's so bad, man. But always looking out for our guy. And speaking of another guy we're looking out for, fitness-wise, doing great this week is Christian Pulisic. Actually started and played for Chelsea for basically the entire match, got subbed off near the end against Southampton in a 3-3 draw. I mean, obviously Chelsea's defense looked horrible, so the 3 goals is nice. Yeah, exactly. What's new? I mean, but letting up 3 on the back, it's just kind of what it's been lately. It was strange, though, because Pulisic played out at, like, right mid, essentially, because they played Mason Mount at left wing. So, I don't know. It felt kind of rough towards Christian. I didn't like that at all. He's not the same off on the other side.
I think... again, that's probably just easing him in, I'd guess. And probably also to the fact that Christian Pulisic can play defense and Chelsea just has none. So putting him more in the middle, it allows him to play more defense, which Chelsea desperately needs. And he's good both ways. But that definitely sucks because we want to see him score. So that's definitely frustrating. But he is really good on defense. So I'm guessing that's probably why they put him there. Or Lampard's just trying to figure it out. I'm not sure. And Christian, again, he's a really good facilitator of the ball. Maybe they like that more than Mount. So definitely sucks, though.
I think they'll figure it out. And, I mean, watching him with Timo and Havertz is a great time. Just the chemistry was pretty good. He had that MLS assist where he had the pass up to Werner, who passed it to Havertz. And that was a great play. You end up seeing that, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's dirty. He's so good.
Oh,
and obviously Timo Werner it's really sick having him there, and those 2 goals for him. So it's fun. They're gonna score a ton of goals. He is gonna get a lot of assists this year, and hopefully put a bunch in too. It's just tough because again, as we kind of thought, Timo would take up a lot of those shots.
Oh yeah,
because he kind of demands them. So.
I think that definitely Werner and Havertz will probably get some like residual, kind of just marketability towards like card collectors because people that are watching Pulisic, we'll see them, I guess. I'd imagine that has some meaning, right? Apparently in a soccer market where the littlest amount of stuff can kind of change things, it seems like. Trying to spotlight on anyone like that, I think it helps out a little bit.
Definitely. I mean, again, the Americans are going to only have eyes on so many teams. I definitely became a fan of more Chelsea players than most of the rest of the league just because they were playing with Pulisic. So it definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah, same. I've been watching a lot of Reina at Dortmund, and I love Haaland now. Like, Haaland's just... I don't have any cards of his yet because I'm just not sure with him not being in a Euro now. And I don't know, World Cup's questionable, and like it's just I don't know if I like that, but he's great, and so yeah, I think it has some sort of play because it's worked on me too. So Yeah, in terms of other Americans, I guess we can go to Gio Reyna. We were going to do a different one, but it's just speaking of, he did casually have 3 assists 2 games ago. 3 assists in 1 game. It was nuts to see. And then in the last game, he had a shot cleared off goal by a defender. So basically could have had a goal, and then he ended up getting an MLS assist pass up to Holland that went to Royce. And just basically, 3 to 4 assists in 2 weeks. He's just killing it. And I don't know. I'm so pumped for the U.S. team.
Dude, I know. And we just more and more and more news of more guys getting called up from the MLS, more young guys getting called over to Europe, and just that means more experience for us. I feel like, especially now in 2026 with all these young guys, we're going to have such a talent pool. It is going to be so much fun in 2022 and 2026. Hopefully, now it's just about coaching. I keep saying it, but I feel our talent's going to be so good and like so well there that I think it's just going to be a blast. But my worry is I think all of our players are going to be a lot smarter than our coach is going to be. So that's going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. But yeah, that's what we talk about. With soccer, we saw how much a little bit of hype did for the soccer card market. And so, long term, 2026 World Cup, where we're like try hosting it. That's the ultimate play. Feels like it's
our team is gonna be really freaking good.
Like in the soccer world, other countries, they care about like stickers for like World Cups and stuff, and like they don't care about much. So to care about stickers for a World Cup, I think that shows how much like card collectors are gonna care about a World Cup. Because obviously it's our version of it, more so cards and stickers, but if there's demand there during times when there's typically none, then there's going to be demand here, like especially if we're looking as good as it's looking right now. But we've just never had this type of talent at this high a level, so it seems too good to be true. I don't know.
I know. And we're actually going to see him get to play here in November. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. We get ourselves 2 friendlies. We got Wales and Australia. Apparently, it's going to be like a Euro-based camp, which, as far as like you and me, who have just been high on like our Euro-based talent, we're not as high on MLS, and honestly, there's like less card selection there. So it's very preferable for us to have this be a Euro-based camp, isn't it?
Oh yeah, again, speaking about like just too good to be true. Like, this feels just so amazing, and like not having too many sports. Basketball is going to be completely over, and just depending on when he's put these friendlies, like it could be just the only thing on. So baseball will be done. So like it's going to be awesome. So it's going to be football on TV. Yeah,
just football, and yeah, then you just place this on any like weeknight at a decent time. You got a good rating, I'd imagine. And like we've always said with like soccer cards for the U.S. men's national team, there's only 11 players, essentially. There might be like 14, 15 if you get some subs that are decent. But, there's only so many people that people are going to care about. And sometimes it seems pretty obvious what our, front 4 or 5 could look like. So just feels like you kind of know where the sure bets are, at least for now. But obviously things are due to change, injury and whatnot. Keep the fingers crossed.
Yeah, no injury bug. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Oh, man. I cannot wait. I'm giddy for Reyna and Pulisic and McKinney, who also for him, get well soon. Get COVID off of him so he can play. Yeah.
Got to be able to hug Ronaldo again.
Exactly. And like just all that, like just seeing those 3 together, and then now Des too, and like all of them just hanging out, having a good time, those Instagram pics that they're going to have, and then us being able to hopefully dominate Wales and Australia, it's just going to be a blast. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, big pumped. And like you said, with Des, he started the last game for Barca. They actually lost 1-0, so not the best. Overall, he looked pretty good. He had one one pass that was honestly horrible. But other than that, it was pretty good. I thought he played pretty well, and starting for Barca. Obviously, a much bigger step than we've taken with anyone in a while. So just
insane.
More talent to stash away, I guess. But yeah, going to be real fun to see where that goes. That's kind of the rising stocks of soccer, I guess, for us. So that's basically it in terms of what we got going on in soccer. In terms of what we were talking about earlier with basketball, I wanted to take kind of a deeper look into some players that maybe, we can compare to what their prices were previously at a high and see if it's maybe worth keeping an eye on. We go back for a look back in time at card prices. Typically, we'll compare like historical cards to now, but instead we're kind of just doing a segment of time right now, comparing the bubble prices of basketball players, the beginning and the end. The first one, we have a Kawhi Prism PSA 10, which started off at $4,000 and is now down to $1,900. So, I mean, obviously didn't win, but I mean, I don't know what the prices suggested, because at the end of the day, they were plus like 200, plus 300 to win the finals. That's only like 25% chance. So to drop that much because they didn't win, that's expecting so much.
I mean, I think it was just people buying into too much hype and reading into it too much that he won the championship last year with the Raptors. I mean, we saw the Raptors go far without him, further than he got with the Clippers. And it's like, this guy has never won a regular season MVP. He doesn't play consistently in the regular season. He's never averaged a ton of points. He's never been a scoring champion. He was Defensive Player of the Year once. And 2 times Finals MVP, 1 time it being like 17 points per game, though. And it probably, honestly, still could have been Tim Duncan as the Finals MVP. I don't know. I just felt like there was too much hype surrounding him going into the season. Obviously, the Clippers did look good. And I will say that I was expecting them to do well, because when all of their starting lineup was healthy, they were so dominant together. And I thought with Lou Williams and, but Paul George literally just dropped off the face of the planet once they started to play. That and Montrezl Harrell did get hurt, and then when he came back, he didn't look great. So, but $4,000 to $1,900, it seems reasonable. I don't think I could have imagined somebody spending $4K on a guy that's, one lucky bounce shot away from losing to Joel Embiid.
Losing to the Sixers, imagine, with the Raptors team that's pretty good. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think it was just kind of, Kawhi being the first person to win with 3 different teams. Maybe a lot of that allure, people can start to build up their weird GOAT talk. But, I think
LeBron did
it. Yeah, no, and Danny Green, don't forget. But
Danny Green. And what, John Sally.
But yeah, I think that's a lot of what it was. Again, someone that, I guess a lot of hype as well. I mean, that's what we'll see with a lot of this. But Giannis PSA 10 Prisms were $5,300 going into the bubble, now down to $3,100. So obviously just a pretty substantial dip. Not as much of a dip as Kawhi, I guess, but pretty darn close.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised. At least he got his second MVP. The Bucks did underperform in the playoffs, but like, he didn't have an awful season. Again, I just feel like that was just the market. I felt that he got too hot, and there was a lot of really big Bucks believers going into the bubble that they could somehow win the championship, which definitely confused me, but they definitely thought that he was at least going to go to the finals this year. And they definitely really underperformed in that aspect. But, again, at least Giannis has won 2 MVPs and been a Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know. He feels a lot more solid to me.
Yeah, I'd feel more confident about a Giannis buy than a Kawhi buy, because, I mean, while Kawhi has, a couple championships, they're not,
Yeah,
they're not going to be as coveted as a Giannis championship.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably more justifiable in terms of a couple guys that actually did better and maybe improved their stock. Jamal Murray, PSA 10 Prism. I think these are probably better buying just regular Prism because they weren't really worth getting graded until very recently. But they went from 270 to 380. So, yeah, I mean, pretty decent increase, like a third of it, 33% increase. So, I don't know.
Those are pretty chill. I mean, I don't know. That's not really that bad for a guy that, man, could score 45 points throughout the playoffs just consistently. I mean, it seemed like he had a big jump. And if he can do that, I mean, he can be definitely well within the MVP race just because the Denver has proved that it can literally win the West or be second seed in the West. We've seen them do that with Jokic just by themselves. So I think they're going to be able to consistently win games, and I think he's definitely a dark horse for an MVP this year. So I kind of like that play.
Yeah, and just looking it up on the side, because they always come to mind now, Donovan Mitchell started, his PSA 10 was the same price basically as Jamal Murray's, like at 270, and it's like 250 now, so it's actually gone down. And I don't know, I put them together, maybe that's a buy, but either way, I like both of them, because, I mean, if you can do that in a series right now, I mean, you know.
Multiple series. Whew.
But yeah, it's kind of limitless potential beyond that, but finally, I guess speaking of potential, the ultimate version of that right now is Luka. His PSA 10 base went from 1,100 to 1,300, so up a little bit over the 3-month span, but obviously not too much. They kind of bottomed out. They were as high as 2,000, and now have just kind of seen a pretty steady go, and have actually creeped up a little bit lately, so not too bad.
You're going to pay a lot, though, if you buy it right after he hits that nasty game winner, so...
Oh yeah, that's the
price
of
promotion
it.
in the buy.
Yeah, I mean, imagine seeing a playoff game winner like that, and you're like, now's the time to buy. This is.
I mean, if you're just feeling good and you got the cash, and that just makes you happy, I get it. But if you're trying to make money, I definitely do not get it.
Yeah, you feel like you got the hot hand. They're gonna go on to win it all. I mean, maybe you take that gamble, but yeah, I mean, overall, I like Luka. I like Luka as a buy probably. The only thing that scares me is the pop, you know. If it
there's a lot. Yeah.
If it doesn't go great, it's gonna not be good, I don't think. But if it goes great, you know, tons of potential. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously showed he's crazy, so a 20% increase doesn't seem too nuts to me.
No, I feel like I probably gained 20% more confidence or more in him in the playoffs, so I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, worth it overall. And that's going to wrap it up as far as a look back in time. Now looking at time right now in the current state of the hobby. While this is a sports card podcast, we have to, kind of take the training wheels off it and direct ourselves into some Pokemon, because what's going on right now has been pretty crazy, Caleb. We've been buying some Pokemon for a while now. We've been, posting it on Insta and whatnot. It's been like 3-4 months solidly. But lately it's kind of popped off, huh? Logan Paul with the stream.
Yeah, I mean, opening that $200,000 box that he bought, and selling those packs for $11,000 each. So he made a nice little profit on it himself. But yeah, it's just something that couldn't be ignored. Mostly we do sports here, but I mean, it was just so crazy. I mean, Logic spent $250,000 almost on a Charizard this last week. So, I mean, you kind of have to talk about it at this point, being a collectible that's a card. It's just so in suit with what we, talk about on the podcast. It can't be ignored. And like Alex said, we've been buying some Pokemon cards here or there, and man, I don't know. Is this crazier than what happened before the NBA bubble? Is this more of a wild ride, would you say?
I mean, I think so, just because, I don't know, kind of as you were mentioning, we'll talk about whatever's coming our way. I don't mind bringing up some Pokemon on the pod, especially if, obviously this is our time era, this is what we're from, so For me, it was just surprising because while I like Pokemon long term and it was showing positive signs for a while, I figured it was just that, like more long term. Like we wouldn't see. I figured there was no world where I would have to rush to put my money into Pokemon out of fear that, the market would have done this. Like had I known, I would have, I would have been putting so much money into it, obviously. But I didn't know. I was just thinking this is something I can buy on the side just to kind of, occupy some of my profits because I really enjoy Pokemon cards. They look cool, and I think they're long lasting. They have a lot of legs, but I just didn't see this happening this quick. It's nuts, man. I don't know.
It was crazy. I mean, we were tossing, a little bit of profits from our sports cards into it just because it was some diversification. B, Pokemon, they're just, again, it's so popular, so much brand recognition. It's like, it's part of Nintendo. Again, it's the most popular brand in the world. It's got such a worldwide appeal, and again, it does fall in very closely with sports cards. So it just made a lot of sense, and it just trended slowly upward. It was like nice, like 5 to 10% gains per year, and it's just a nice place to sit some of your profits. And then that happened. It was just crazy. I mean, obviously, if we would have had a crystal ball and known, we would have had so much more money. But it was like we would be buying cards like that was from a week ago, and then they would double, triple, 5x in a week.
Yeah.
And it's consistently happening still. Like, I don't know. I've never seen that. Like basketball, I mean, it was kind of steady. I guess like LeBron was steadily climbing the whole year. Like it went from 3 to 5 to 7 to 8 to 10, and then the bubble of 15. But these Pokemon cards are going from like 100 to 1,000 in a week.
Yeah, it's insane. Really, that is what we're, I guess, taken aback by, is just how much this increased. And obviously with sports, this stuff happens if someone scores a great goal, maybe wins a series with a shot, but it's just Pokemon. Like nothing's happened other than, some people talking about it, which, I mean, influencers talking about it does obviously influence a little, but I mean, if that much can do that, it's hard to think about, because I don't think that this increase is just like influencer driven, because if it was, then imagine what it could be. Like, it's terrifying. I mean, I hope it isn't, because then I'm concerned of how much I'd have to pay in the future for any of this.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think, again, it just hit such a zeitgeist of the time. Sports cards were getting popular. I mean, we were moving some money into it at the time just because we thought it was kind of a smart play. And we, again, it is such just a childhood thing, the video games, and it just has collecting them, like that's what you did in the video game. So why wouldn't you do the same in the card game? And it was really just a collectible, like even as a kid, and it was really fun. So that made sense that way. And then Pokemon had released a bunch of really new good stuff that had made people really popular. I wonder how much of it was the fact that like sealed product in stores was you couldn't find it anymore. Like every single Target, Walmart, fill-in store, like baseball, basketball, and football cards were just gone, and that just left you with Pokemon cards on the shelf. I wonder if that had anything to play into it. I really don't know, but
that'd be interesting.
People wanted to keep opening packs. That was literally all that was left on the shelves, and people were like, well, I guess it's something. I mean, that
breakers just didn't know what to do. They're like, I gotta rip Pokemon.
I mean, honestly, it's wild. It's definitely wild. But anyway, what have you been putting your money into these last few months? And what are you holding? What are you selling? How are you feeling?
Man, it's so hard. And this is what I think Pokemon does well with, is that, and like I just keep comparing Pokemon like pop counts for like first edition and Shadowless and stuff like that from the like base set. if you compare that to like just rookie cards in sports, which inherently are less collectible because like Pokemon, people actually collected those cards a ton. People play the games a ton. People see a ton of the movies. Like it's just so much more marketable, obviously, and more driven towards card collecting. And when you compare the pop counts to basketball prices are nuts, and you're not like driven to card collecting with basketball necessarily. So I think just Pokemon potential is immense, and I think that's what's kind of just driven me to gear myself more towards base set. I think that everyone's just going to come back to base set. So I've been buying a little bit of Shadowless, a good bit of Shadowless, because I think it's underrated. People just see like Unlimited, and they want Unlimited, but it's like, Shadowless is distinctive and so much less pop. Like, especially if you're buying graded, because like graded right now, like you and me have talked about a lot, it's just there's a select few Unlimited, but there could be a ton. Like there's a ton out there waiting. So I think there's a wave of that to come. So I'm selling an Unlimited, buying Shadowless, and buying whatever kind of Japanese base set stuff that I can find. You've kind of pushed me onto that. Japanese base set's been nice lately.
Yeah, I mean, not my own idea. If you are interested again in the sports car, or in Pokemon, I mean, and like this is something that interests you, or that's something that really tickles your fancy. There's this guy named SM Pratt. He's pretty much the godfather of Pokemon collecting. He's got literally everything. The most expensive card. He's got a $2 million card listed on eBay right now. It's like literally the rarest known to man card. But he was talking about it, and there was one video where he was saying there's always an alternative option because you can get the artwork on different cards. And that just kind of was what pushed me into like, well, what I guess Japanese cards, the US Charizard cards, we'll go with Charizard because he's kind of the guy, were getting really expensive, and I didn't really want to buy unlimited ones because, just like Alex said, I think there's a ton of them because of the craze in 1999. We weren't really there for it to see it, but we know it was huge. And I mean, there was never a time in my life, I think, like especially like growing up, like going to garage sales and stuff, like I would see unlimited base set like everywhere. Like everybody from the 90s bought packs of unlimited. So I knew that there's probably going to be a lot of that floating in the market. So I kind of wanted an alternative option to that, and that was Japanese because it's 3 years older, and where the US it's really a collectible thing. In Japan, it's definitely more of a playing thing. So it's a playing card game, and that was much more popular. So like getting high grade of that stuff, where it's not really run down and played is even tougher. So that's what got me to that. I'm like, it's so much cheaper. It's the exact same artwork. It's older. It's harder to find in higher condition. So yeah, I definitely I liked that play because of that, and it's just popped off though, just like all the reasons that I was saying. And then the other alternative, like the 2016 evolutions for that same looking Charizard that you got in the base set packs, those have blown up this week from going from, again, like you could literally buy it for $30 for a nice like near mint condition one. Now it's like $250 in like a couple weeks. Like, yeah, for the evolutions Charizard.
Yeah, just to get the art. Well, that's the Japanese base set Charizards. That's been like the thing that's been going up the most, which again makes sense, but just who would have thought that's where the highest return was at. But yeah, overall I definitely agree. Unlimited, not great. Japanese, pretty good stuff. I mean, and there's just a lot of like unique artwork in Japanese early stuff that, just older, unique stuff could be worth it in my opinion, but yeah, we've been doing a lot of Pokemon hunting. It's honestly, like, you're talking how much the market's gone up. Like, it's hard to find cards that aren't 2x of what they were 3 months ago. Like, it's I think I can barely do it.
Yeah,
At least with the older stuff.
and we were surprised, like, when we were looking, the cards had jumped up, what, like 40% when we were watching them? Like, in about a month, they had gone up 40%. We were like, man, like, that's crazy. Like, that's kind of a lot. And we had no clue.
Yeah, it's weird. We're kind of at a point where we're both selling a little, but still holding. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's just so hard to sell Pokemon because you like them, you enjoy collecting them so much. So we kind of had to bring ourselves to sell a little.
Yeah, it's just tough because like, for especially like first edition base stuff or even the shadowless stuff, it's rare. There's a lot less of it than unlimited, and that eventually the unlimited and shadowless is really gonna segregate itself as a tier above. As more people get buying in and this hype kind of settles, it's definitely going to, I think the gap is going to definitely widen for price. But at the same time, it's like the prices are so good and there's so much popularity and hype around it right now, it's hard not to jump in and take some of those prices.
No, yeah, I definitely feel, and it'll be fun to keep an eye of going forward. We probably won't talk about it too much, but if it does anything crazy like this again, which I mean, again, I wouldn't expect it to, but anything crazy happens, we'll be keeping an eye because we're heavily invested in it and always trying to cop some more Pokemon. But as far as something you're out for blood for this week, it seems like a little bit of self-harm here, maybe, along the same lines. So, not happy about something?
I mean, I'm just kicking myself. There were so many cards that I looked at for Pokemon cards, and I'm like, it's kind of too expensive at like $300, and that are now, like, some have sold for $5,000-$10,000 that I was looking at for $300 a couple months ago. And I'm kicking myself. I could have bought a ton of these cards and then retired already. It sucks. But I mean, how are you to know? Like, I guess if we would have chart graphed for 2 years, that's the only way in my mind. And then we saw that there was big jumps these last, But again, you look at that graph and you're like, man, it's up, It was moving upward, like, just the rate. I don't even know. I don't know how I would have figured it out, but it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the charts are, like, I'll bring it up right now. The PSA 10, let me grab it, just fling it over here. It's just nuts because obviously, you kick yourself now if you could look in the crystal ball and know, you're like, man, I'm an idiot. But like a Charizard PSA 10, just English Hollow, was, I mean, as close as last year, like the beginning of this year, it was $2,000 for PSA 10. Now, Japanese base is more than that. It's like, how how do you think that was just going to happen? And especially when, you look back to 2017, Pokemon's obviously popping off then at $630 for a Charizard PSA 10. Unlimited, of course, but like, I don't know. It's hard to believe that the Japanese base set's just going to pop off like that when recent historical prices of the English stuff isn't even there. So,
I mean, there was no way to know, but I did like those cards. I was just somewhat stingy on it and didn't, but it's crazy. I don't know. The hobby has been so crazy as just hopping in these last few months. Just everything, it feels like you're trying to buy it, and then whatever you're trying to buy, apparently everyone else is as well. So, I don't know. I guess my advice, to be, if you really like the card and you feel strongly about it, I would purchase it. If you really have that strong gut feeling, I pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's. I'm kicking myself for the same thing. I had a Blastoise PSA 9 that I didn't pay $20 extra for, and yeah, it's tough. You just gotta learn that if you want something, you might have to pay a little bit above market, I guess. But it's if you really believe, and something I really believe in, I guess along the same lines. We'll just keep it about Pokemon, but given this explosion, I recently saw on Instagram people comparing the Pokemon kind of boom right now with basketball and what's happened with soccer to a lesser extent with soccer, but also happened there. And I don't really think they're comparable. Like, basketball, the only thing I think's really comparable is like legends, like MJ, like I'll put Steph there, LeBron, and some of the older guys like Bird, like you get the idea. Like top 10,
Magic
top
Bird,
15
yeah.
guys, like those guys are going to be collected because they, reach the pinnacle of the sport. But Pokemon, like, it's just across the board. Like, it's not really going to be artificial or fall back down and maybe, fall steeper. Like, soccer has gotten to the point where it's about what it was at before. I don't think there's a chance that Pokemon, when it comes back down, is going to get to where it was before. Because if everything's going up like this, there's just so many more people that are going to be there that it can't just be flippers. And there's not, only a few cards that you can flip. There's so many. It's such an array. So I just don't think it's comparable. And I think there's always going to be so much more demand for a game that's kind of, predicated around cards and collectability. So I just don't think they're the same thing. And I'd imagine you agree, but I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah,
you enjoy some basketball cards and soccer. I mean, I like both basketball and soccer, don't get me wrong, but
I mean, as a kid, like, for me, it was definitely, it was collecting football and basketball cards way more than, it ever was about, Pokemon or anything else. So for me, it was definitely a basketball and a football world. But the thing is just like, it's so multi-generational, and the video games, like you say, just bring people into having that extra connection with the cards. And for basketball, like, you can watch a basketball game and not feel nearly the same way about, like, oh, I have to buy basketball cards, or because there's no involvement with collecting in it, where Pokemon, like, the game is literally, again, it's about catching Pokemon, and like that's the packs kind of bring that value to it. And again, it's just kind of this kid thing where basketball and maybe 2K brings kids into the basketball cards, and we've definitely seen that cross over, so that's good. So those video games have kind of helped it, but Pokemon is really just predicated around that video game. Yeah. So even more so than basketball with 2K or soccer with FIFA, which definitely feel like outlets toward it. And again, it's just so popular. It's so much more popular than basketball and football, and it's so big. And it just, again, and like Charizard can be printed like whenever and wherever, and there's just such a visceral feeling with that and people. And the weird thing is, like, even the small weird ones, somebody's going to have a really big emotional connection to that and that card. And that Pokemon, when they played the game, they caught that Pokemon, they really liked it, and it was just always kind of in their thing, in their starting lineup. And so, like, so many cards can pop and be important to people in a different way than I think sports can. So I definitely agree with you. It's just this, they're made for each other. It's like they're match made for each other, the cards and Pokemon.
Yeah, I feel like they go, I mean, like you said, a lot more hand in hand than basketball. And I just think that's why it separated itself and will probably continue to do so, even though I like basketball long term. But last little thing, I guess, before we get into our weekly picks and sending it off, I don't think we gave it enough credit. I mean, how fun was it to watch Logan Paul open those packs, though? That was so tense. It was so tense.
It was it was crazy. I mean, because while people were gambling like 11,000, like, still, if they pulled some of those pack fresh cards, like, they literally still could have made their money back.
Oh yeah,
which is nuts.
It was crazy, and they had good packs. There's so many hollows, good hollows.
Yeah, tons of hollows, and like the Charizard, like, that was insane. 2 Blastoise, like, it was nuts. Like, such a fun time. And like, it was real. And like, there was 300,000 people watching at some point.
Oh yeah, no, there was a ton. There's a ton.
Like, again, famous people like Logic. That same day, he did watch that stream. He later bought that card. Like, there was such an emotional reaction to it. It was crazy. Like, just nutty. It was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't know. It won't be top for a while, I don't think, in the card hobby. Just me watching someone open packs and getting that excited. I feel like it'll be a long time. But yeah, I guess the last Out for Blood. I'll just add this in real quick. Collector's Guru, the dude that was there with them. Oh my god, the worst.
That was pumping cards, yeah, dude.
The worst. He was saying
he was
like so high of prices. The 30K Bulbasaur meme was great. I loved it.
Classic. Dude, but yeah, that dude he feels like he pumps and dumps Pokemon cards.
Yeah. He's pretty obvious about it. No holding back that. We've seen him on eBay. He's got a lot of cards listed, but finally put a face to it.
He's so cringy. He's absolutely so cringy.
Yeah, the way he would like, I don't know, he would come over like in the shot whenever it was like one of his friends' packs, and he would just like
$100,000
get really intense. I'm like, dude, jeez, like this is just chill out. I mean, you'd think with having Pokemon cards, you'll be all right. Yeah, just. But yeah, he was the worst part about the whole show. Other than that, perfectly fine. Had a great time with it. And getting into our weekly picks. We'll finish off the Pokemon segment. You got your first one. We kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, weekly picks, man. Japanese Pokemon. I'm very high on it. Again, it's 3 years older than the Unlimited. It feels like a better play, and just it was so undervalued for such a long time. It's definitely not that case anymore. But it's where it originated too. So it just feels cool to collect it from there, and I don't think should be undervalued. Also, that 25th anniversary of Pokemon's coming up this next year, and so I feel like those 1996 to 2021 cards, like that's gonna be pretty popular. So I think it's a really good short-term play and long-term play.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, no rarity I don't feel like is collectible as first edition, Like, first edition's cool and obvious. Like, no rarity for the Japanese base set I don't think people really care too much about. Or at least not as much.
Yeah, and you can still get some pretty good prices on no rarities, to be honest.
Yeah, you can find a deal or two here or there. But going into my pick of the week, or the first one of the two, we're going to go with soccer for both of these, because I really do like the soccer market now. It's kind of chilled back out to near what it was at before. And all this is pretty affordable, and like we talked about earlier, it's a long-term play at the Euros and World Cup. But speaking of World Cup, we have Caden Clark. He recently played for Red Bulls couple games. Both of them had amazing goals in them and looked insane.
Amazing.
He's 17, apparently going out on loan or just getting switched over clubs from the Red Bull Academy to over in Germany at, I think, Leipzig, I'm pretty sure. So, I mean, as far as a move there, that's pretty nuts, and at such a young age in the U.S., I feel like it's a good time to go for the Tops Now card. You can just grab a couple. If you only feel like grabbing a little, you can buy on eBay. They're pretty discounted prices. Or if you're going to buy a little bit, you can go to Tops Now, and there's like 10% off too. So I just think it's a decent play. And, I mean, you saw the goals. He's pretty promising, and I just like to be anywhere U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, anytime I see any news that they're transferring over to Europe, it's pretty much an automatic buy for me. And then you showed me those goals, and I was like, oh my gosh, say less. Especially the one where he just literally kicks that ball out of the air and just straight into the upper 90, and you're like, what the heck? Just an absolute stud. So, yeah, it's exciting. And, he can be buds with Tyler Adams over there at Leipzig, so pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that goes to my second pick. The one basketball pick that I do really like is Klay Thompson rookie cards. He's got a few. His SB, so basketball was barely really produced in 2011. There was like almost no products. There was SP that was produced, and one other that escapes me right now. But that was really it for basketball. I don't know why. It was just really unpopular, believe it or not. There was a time when basketball was unpopular. And I think those are good pickups. Or even the 2012 ones. The 2012 Panini, his 2012 Prism. They also kind of count those as rookie cards. Just kind of like with Michael Jordan as well. 86 wasn't his rookie year. But They just really didn't produce cards besides those star cards, so they kind of just count it. And that's same with Jimmy Butler too. They count those prisms and Panini cards, his rookie, even though like Clay, he was the year before. So I think there's a lot of good plays there, and he's really not too expensive. And he's multiple All-NBA, 3-time champion, and 37 points in a quarter. There's plenty of reasons to like Klay Thompson, so I think it's a good play.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, long-term basketball, you really obviously want collectability because that's what lasts. Flipping doesn't last. Collectability does, and anyone that likes the Warriors or that dynasty is going to want to add a ton of Klay if they can. And then whenever they have their, Bulls equivalent of a documentary, yeah, you can sell that in the long term if you really want cash back a little bit. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with Klay, and being the third best odds for the finals next year, you'll be looking in a good spot. In terms of my last play, back to soccer, just nailing it home. But Marcus Rashford, Select 2016, been looking to buy a little bit of these, whichever form you want to get them in. There's a few variations, so it's ultimately up to you. But I mean, he's going to be, and this is really what I'm looking for, just like people that are within the first 1, 2 to 3 people that you think of on a team, depending on if it's a big club. Like England at the Euros, people are thinking Rashford. With smaller teams, maybe you're only thinking of one guy, but at the end of the day, like we've seen with basketball, kind of everyone on every team kind of gets 1 to 3 guys selected, and if they're within that, I'm all about it for the next Euro and for the next World Cup, because prices right now are basically pre-Champions League prices, so the hype's kind of dissipated. But like Champions League showed, and kind of that moment in time, the smallest little bit of hype is going to drive it, and the Euros and World Cup are definitely both hype. So I think it's a pretty good play, and there are definitely many others that are kind of out of my mind, but he's kind of the most prominent given his status, and he's at Man United, so he's going to be on everyone's minds. Just kind of how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely swooped on some Marcus Rashfords as well, so definitely think it's a great play, and a really good player. Seems like, it's definitely an easy pickup.
yeah.
Especially being on England and probably going to be their main guy, like tons of popularity, obviously. Easy wins.
Yeah, and people, I mean, I don't know if it's too big of a stretch, but I mean, American viewers are going to have to find some team they want to root for in the Euro, and England feels like a pretty easy one to, you don't have to stretch too far for that one. But yeah, I think it's definitely a good play, and I mean, overall, just whenever you have that many eyes on you, I feel like that's just a way to win in the card market. But that is going to be it for us today over here on Sports Card Corner. Caleb at Caleb_sports_cards. Do you enjoy? You had a nice hour 20.
Oh, I did. Always. It's always a great time talking to the Fiends. I appreciate if you've listened this far. You guys are real goats. I hope we've given you some tidbits to make you tons of money and have a bunch of fun doing it.
Yeah, would love to hear what you guys are thinking as far as cards go overall, and obviously first time kind of bringing out some Pokemon, so if we get roasted for that, I wholeheartedly expect it and don't really mind because it's just been great. Pokemon's been so much fun. So that's a takeaway from this episode. This is going to become a Pokemon podcast. There's nothing you can do about it. And that's what we're going to do around here now. So, yeah, he's at Caleb_sports_cards. I am at Cutting Edge Cards on Insta, no G. Check that out down below. And that's going to be it for us on episode number 6.
Peace.
There we go.